She's my bestie, that's my bestie. Your pair of eyes had me paralyzed. Toxic nigga, but you made me to a better guy. Smoke, but with you on forever, ever high. Could watch you all day, girl, like you're televised. You think like this nigga, they ain't never lied. I left the bitches alone, I had to pick a side. Look in your eyes, girl, you were hypnotized. Of course it was your breasts, hips, and them damn thighs. Close my eyes, I'm still mesmerized. Get mad at my bestie, I tried. That's my bestie, my pretty.
I heard she's the one, she's got it going on. That's my pretty ass baby. Yeah, yeah. She don't take no mess. My bestie is the best. That's my pretty ass baby. Yeah, yeah. I heard she's the one, she's got it going on. That's my pretty ass baby.
Hey, what's up? Anyways, we have this. We'll do this right now. Anyways, so we're waiting on defense. The state did their closing arguments before lunch. They took about 3 hours. It was kind of long, drawn out. They made it more complicated than it seemed. Like that's just my opinion. And you know, after watching the trial, after watching everything, I don't care if the gun's real, fake. I don't care. Like that to me doesn't make. It's not. It don't matter to me. Because it's self-defense all day. I've watched the video over and over, and you don't see Rocky pull it out until he's touched. You don't see him pull it out a second time until they're followed. And then dude comes lunging at him. And he was trying to save his friend. He wasn't pointing the gun at a guy like he says. His fist even shows that it's those were caused from hitting somebody. So it is what it is. Yeah. Hey, prettiest eyes. How are you doing? How's my twin? But yeah, I really don't care. Like, they're making it something that it's not. I think the dude was out for money. Thank you. The dude was out for money, and you know, that's just what it was. Like, I don't know. Thank you. But yeah, I just, that's just the gist of it. The dude even said like he wouldn't have went freaking criminal, but it looked better for his civil, and he was after $30 million. I've been on, but I haven't been around too many places. Let's put it that way. I go to Lady Laws and I go to Buddies. But other than that, like maybe I lurk every now and then, but I'm mainly into like the trials nowadays. So I'm just not with the drama. The people do too much for entertainment. What are they saying about his case? Did they find him guilty? Well, they're still doing closings. The state just barely finished their closing. Basically, they're saying it's whether it was a real gun or a prop gun, and they like glided over the fact that even if it was a real gun or a fake gun, it's still self-defense at the end of the day. So it'll be the defense's closing, and we'll see what he says. His opening, I was like, oh, why are they doing that? Why are they doing that? But then I understand why he was saying it. Because shots were fired. I don't, but it wasn't directed at anybody. It was to try to get him to stop pummeling his friend. But whatever, let them believe what you want. They want, you know. Sometimes you could be getting hit, not show any injuries. I mean, shit. Let's be honest. I've seen a lot of people get fucking hit in the face and don't show any injuries. I've been popped in the mouth and I didn't have no injuries. All I had was my tooth come through my lip. That was it. But the other person was more injured than I was because they hit me in the wrong place. Don't hit me in my mouth. My teeth stayed in there. Shit. Anyways. But yeah. So I don't know. I don't like the fact that they're bringing up Rihanna and saying how much power she has in the industry, and the only reason why people are coming forward is because they don't want to be, they don't want to be blackballed out of the industry, and I'm not getting that. I'm not getting that. They were like, well, why didn't you go to the police? Well, why should they have to? The police should have done their fucking job and actually went and found out who was all in that video and went and asked them, but they didn't. The police didn't do their job. They just went off the quote unquote victims, side. And it just looks pretty funny. I mean, they're trying to say Rocky was the aggressor. But no, it was actually Relly that was reaching out to Rocky first. Asking him where he's at. I mean, shoot. But anyways, it is what it is.
Doing a routine MRI on the Tin Man is wrong.
A lot of people didn't. I knew about it when it first happened. I knew about it when it first happened. And that's when all the rumors about them being married came out and all that stuff. And me too, because it's 24 years. 24 years. I mean, a lot of people think he should have took the deal because it was only 6 months in jail. But why when you feel like you're in the right? I just don't understand that. And I think that they offered him a sweet deal because, I don't think they're confident in their case. Even the closing for the state, it lackluster. He didn't seem like he had enough, like he had a lot of confidence in this case. I don't think they have a lot of confidence in Relly, in all honesty. Let's see what's going on. But yeah. So they should be coming back. They were supposed to start at 1:15. No, it's not after 20-some years. That's what they want to give them.
Right. I don't know that.
It's what they want to give them. It happened in 2021. Yeah, I don't know how they go from 6 months to 24 years. That's just weird to me. Like, the only time a sweet deal comes into play is if they're not confident in their case. But we'll see how the defense ties it in and see how they do. But I'm still not convinced with the state's theory. I'm just not.
You're talking already and heard.
Oh, really? Okay.
And I guess during lunch they were playing ACOM Locked Up. I don't know how appropriate that is, but whatever. Like, are they trying to say like, like he's guilty? I don't think he's guilty. If the gun was real or fake, I don't care. I think it was self-defense. That's just my opinion. But I'm not the jury, so let's hope. Come on. That's facts, and they've been doing that for years. They've been doing that for years. I mean, let's talk about how many people they pin crimes on that only because they fit the description, not because they're guilty or not because anything. They were in the wrong place at the wrong time and they fit the description, or they really didn't want to do their job and they just found any Joe Schmo and said, "Oh, they fit the description." That's why I watch a lot of trials, because they do it to a lot of people. They do it to a lot of people. And they've been doing it for years. It's just now being televised. And it's sad that it takes, these rappers and shit, that it has to, to bring it to the forefront. But even if Rocky was a normal person, well, he is a normal person to me. I don't look at him as a superstar or anything. Like, he doesn't hold any power to me. Like, I don't put anybody on a pedestal. If I can get in trouble, they can get in trouble. And to me, it's self-defense all day, even if it was me on the other end. So, come on. What's taking so long? People not paying attention. What are they talking about? Who's not paying attention? We got courtroom tea. Come on already.
All right, we are back on the record. Our party jurors present.
Despite treatment, it's not control. Now I have Revoke. Revoke is the one thing that reduces the itch and
Defendant RAKIMMAYERS now has
significant itch.
and is afforded an
It's 2
opportunity
days.
to argue the
And
case.
dramatic skin clearance is friendly
I'm not going to argue.
that you saw clear, almost clear
I'm
skin.
going to try to discuss.
Before treatment, test your bleeding to blood work. Serious infections, blood clots, cancers, including lymphoma, skin,
I do need to get a green screen.
See these risk increases in age 50 plus with disease risk factor. Tell your doctor if you've had these events.
Ultimately,
Smoked.
what will determine the facts, what's going to be important, is you.
Disrupt the itch and rush of eczema. Talk to your
No power to do
about
justice
Revoke.
here.
Learn how happy can help you save.
This is the greatest
Tired
of
of
ours.
the endless cycle of diets.
And I'd like to, first and foremost, I'd like to commend and compliment Mr. Chris Loman on what I thought was a fine argument this morning. I don't agree with much of anything he had to say, but I did listen intently. and I hope you'll do the same with me. There's a few things on what he said, though, I do have to just address immediately. And during his argument, because I didn't object doesn't mean I agreed. I didn't object once. I thought there were some misstatements of facts. I'll deal with that. But I'm not afraid of anything that was said or anything he had to say. I didn't want to interrupt him. I didn't want to object. I wanted you to hear where the arguments are. Let's see if they give me that same courtesy. He did, during his 2+ hour first summation, because they get 2 summations, you'll hear about that later. He didn't once mention the fact that their only witness in this case committed perjury again and again and again and again in this court. That wasn't mentioned once, not even dealt with. That's an important issue in this case, as you're going to see. Because the case does rise and fall in his credibility, without question, without question. Detective Flores, their case detective, testified, and we'll put up this testimony in a bit, that without Relly, the 2 videos and the sounds, there's no evidence of a shooting. Could be, could not be. That's certainly not proof beyond a reasonable doubt. So Relly's testimony is in fact everything. And Mr. Presolnik seemed very worried about what I'm going to say about Mr. Efron and his credibility. He understands that that case rises and falls with him. And he spent a lot of time anticipating what I'm going to say about it. One thing he said I would do, but I promise you I won't, is I'm not going to go through every inconsistency of Mr. Efron. We'd be here until Christmas. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go through the major lies he told, the admissions of perjury, the important facts that he told you that turned out to be lies. I'm not going to worry about some inconsistency he told about some statement he made 2 years ago or 3 years ago. We would be here literally for days on end, and I'm not going to do that. Mr. Presolnik said there's no evidence of a prophet in this case. Again, we'll get to all this. There's definitely a lot less evidence of a real gun in this case than a prophet. The facts scream out that it's impossible for what he had that night to be a real gun. The DA spent much of that argument, 2 hours and 15 minutes or so, repeating himself, repeating the same arguments again and again, sometimes in sarcastic tone, because the evidence isn't there. Look, together, hopefully, these discussions that we're going to have are going to be helpful in trying to arrive at a decision in this case, where you don't compromise, where you don't do violence to your conscience, where you do the right thing. And you're the ones who are empowered to determine what, in fact, is the right thing. It's you. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever in your life been falsely accused of it? Ever been falsely accused of it? Have you ever just sit there and take it, watch proceedings or watch how it played out and wait and wait and wait, knowing that you're innocent, knowing that you didn't do it? All you can do during such a process is maintain your dignity. Isn't that right? All you can do is maintain your dignity. Knowing that you're innocent, but maintaining your dignity and remembering always that you're left in a crisis because you're conduct during it. That's another reason why I am so proud to represent Rocky. He's a man who's maintained his innocence from day one, 3.5+ years ago, who's conducted himself with dignity throughout these proceedings from day one. I started off telling you about this case was all about my first time out of the back in the opening statement, seems like 1.5 years ago, was that this case was about Relly's jealousy, lies, and greed. I said that you'd see the kind of person he was in this courtroom, an angry, pathological liar. That he, and he alone, is the source of all the evidence that they are relying on. And this case would rise and fall on his credibility. You take him out of the picture, there is no case. And as I promised, really showed you who he truly was when it came time for cross-examination. He's a man who told me without hesitation, I can tell people whatever I want. He said that, actually, to you. I was right out of the box, the first one that line, please.
You couldn't hear it, sir.
I think I'm so.
You want the audio visual, please, Alex, come on, please.
I'm gonna, I don't wanna.
That's fine.
Yeah.
We have an audio visual person in this work, we'll have him up to, go ahead. Sure. It works on the computer.
Okay, what you would have heard, what you may see one day, hopefully after Mark comes up and save us once again, is him literally saying to you, I can tell people whatever I want. He's their witness, who you're being asked to believe beyond a reasonable doubt. I can tell people whatever I want. He's a man who literally gave 4 different answers to one question. 4 answers, one question. He said, yes, no, I don't recall, I don't know, in one question. That was a first for me. I've been doing this for a bit. That was the first for me. 4 answers, one question. Yes, no, I don't recall, I don't know. It's a man who committed perjury before your eyes over and over again. A man who snapped, cursed, threw a water bottle while he was testifying, cursed in this courtroom. Threw a water bottle out of anger while testifying in the light of the court with the judge, with the jury, with these terrific sheriff's deputies and bailiffs. That's what he had to hear. Imagine what he's capable of in the dark of night. If he doesn't think anyone's watching. The evidence in this case has shown you that this case indeed rises on his credibility or falls on his credibility, and it is fallen hard. Before we start, I do want to thank you all. It's right to thank you all for your commitment and sacrifice in this case. It's not been an easy case. It's been a long, long case. It's been odd that not one of you have ever been late. Another first for me. Been doing this for a while, both as a prosecutor and defense attorney. Not once have we been waiting for a juror. So your commitment and your sacrifice is extraordinary, especially in a 4-week trial. So we both sides thank you for that. I know that. But this is what this is about. This is why we love what we do. It's why I love what I do. It's an opportunity to come before people who are from the community, who are the conscience of the community, because you are the conscience of this community. And when I say community, I mean you represent the community of Los Angeles. Every part of the community, parts that are represented here, and parts that aren't represented here, Compton, Englewood. You represent all parts of this community. You set the standards, you tell us what's right and what's wrong with your work. Use your common sense to do that. And ladies and gentlemen, your work goes far beyond these courtroom doors. The evidence isn't there in this case. It's not even close. Again, appreciate Mr. Prezone's argument, but we're going to dissect the evidence now. Apart from Relly's testimony, the prosecution, just his testimony, I'm not talking about his physical evidence, apart from his testimony, the prosecution's evidence consists of videos, shell casings, and knuckle scrapes. And I don't know what else to call them but knuckle scrapes. I know they said, oh, he's going to call them knuckle scrapes. What do I want to call them? Bullet wounds? I mean, they're not scrapes. Videos don't prove that case, they prove the opposite. Relly was the aggressor in both videos, and we'll show you those, and we'll show you them slowly. The shell casing is not, sir.
Mark says it's set up right, but he needs to.
Yeah, I'll stop for a second. You want to try it? Let's try it. Thanks.
Go ahead.
Wait for it to,
Is he back here or over here?
a break bar where you just grab something. You can-
What's going on?
What's the truth about those elements having the footage?
Hey, Chaylee.
You know,
Thank you. You want to hang around a little bit, or?
I know, right?
Stick around. Bye,
I
bye.
have.
Okay,
Don't go far.
thank you very much. But anyway, he was one of the videos. Michael played that. Go ahead.
Yes, no, I don't know. They want to do it. I don't know. It's been so long. I can tell people what about it. I don't get it, but no. Yes, no, I don't know. They want to do it. I don't know. It's been so long. I can tell people what about it.
it's already different.
You could take that down, please. Anyway, the shell casings and the knuckle scrapes mean absolutely nothing without believing Relly's story about them. They mean nothing without believing his story in whole about them. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about how the evidence or lack of evidence shaped up in this case. Before we do, I want to make clear what Rocky is charged with. He's charged with 2 counts of assault with a semi-automatic weapon. One for the altercation by the parking garage on Argyle Avenue, the other for the altercation Piece Del Mar, that fuzzy video that you see. The DA said you only have to decide if it's proper or not. That's it. That's all you have to decide. Very simple. Nothing else is in dispute. That is not true. That's not true. And the judge just told you this the other day. He said, as a matter of fact, that's not what you just have to decide. It completely ignores the self-defense and defense of others law that the judge instructed you on. But they see what they want to see. They say what they want to say. They hide from you what they don't want you to see, which is why they cut off the end of the video on Piece Del Mar. I'm going to show you what they cut off. They cut off after Rocky's gone. After 12 is already running away, they cut off the part where Relly goes back and gets Ills one more time. The guy who's only using for a human shield. They cut that part of the video off. We did it. We'll show you. The judge will instruct you, each of those charges requires the prosecution to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, another term I didn't hear much, 2 hours plus summation of Mr. Brazil. Beyond a reasonable doubt that Rocky possessed a real operable semi-automatic firearm and that Rocky did not act in self-defense or defense of another. Beyond a reasonable doubt. And the evidence just isn't there. It's not even close in this case, guys. It's not even close. I'm here to gain respect for the undeniable fact that even now as we sit here, RAKIMMAYERS is presumed innocent. He's presumed innocent as we sit here now. I'm here to point out the numerous reasonable doubts that lurk in the evidence in this case. Because folks, please remember, the judge didn't tell you, he did already have some charges. All you need is one. All you need is one. I submit to you, there are hundreds of reasonable doubts. Hundreds. You just need one. And the case is over. We have this idea of a reasonable doubt. It's not what we do in our daily lives on the street when we talk to our friends or analyzing whether our kids have been truthful or friends have been truthful. but it's something that's really important in this setting of the courtroom, because it seems as a country that it has served us very, very well. People who founded this country were no strangers to controversy, and certainly no strangers to social danger, have created some of it themselves even. They knew that the surest and best way to guarantee the liberty of citizens was to make sure that if the government brought charges against one of its citizens, they had to prove. And if there was a doubt based on reason, there was a reasonable doubt, there had to be an acquittal. Had to be. What a reasonable doubt isn't, the judge said this to you in the beginning, like, again, 4 weeks ago, whenever that was. What a reasonable doubt isn't, it isn't he may have committed the crime, it isn't he probably committed the crime, it is I'm almost certain he committed the crime. That doesn't carry it. It's I have no reason to doubt he committed the crime. What was proven beyond a reasonable doubt in this case? Terrell Efron is a compulsive liar and perjurer. That was proven beyond reasonable doubt. He lies without remorse. Folks, he even bragged to you about committing perjury. He literally did. And you're going to see it. As long as Mark is close by, the video works, you're going to see him literally bragging about committing perjury to you. You know, this reasonable doubt, proof beyond a reasonable doubt, you're going to hear me talk about it again. But the prosecution told you just now, Mr. Rosalman said, that the defense story is impossible. They have to prove that beyond a reasonable doubt. You can't just say it. They have to prove that beyond a reasonable doubt. They have not met their burden here, not even close, because they can't. It's a very heavy burden, and they've not come close. That's why they resort to making excuses, playing games, relying on possibilities, which is really funny, because you were all here for jury selection, because you wouldn't be here if you weren't here for jury selection. See how smart I am? You were all here when Mr. Lewin in jury selection said, we'll never ask you to look at what's possible in this case. Remember that was like the closing remark in jury selection? We'll never ask you to look at what's possible. He said that. Yet, as we walk through the evidence together, you'll see all the possibilities they presented. Starting with their first witness out of the gate, right after jury selection, boom! First witness, Zizzo, right out of the gate. Is it possible you missed the shell casings? You have to say, you never say anything about the word possible. You won't be asked what's possible in this case. First witness out of the box, Officer Zizzo, was asked, is it possible you missed the shell casings? Possible is not proof beyond reasonable doubt, nor are excuses. Why were there no fingerprints on those shell casings that really claimed to have found that night? Remember what the floor said about that? Excuses. Well, you know, if it rained, if there was water, if there were cars, if there was wind. We'll go past that. We'll review the evidence together, and you'll see that their excuses for not having proof really start stacking up. And in face of only possibilities and excuses, they resorted to playing games in an effort to win at all costs. At all costs. And it's not about justice. It was about winning. Plain and simple. And they played games in this case that should offend you. I'm not just saying it, I'm going to take you through. Not showing you evidence, embracing perjury of this relic, trying to deceive you. Remember something I said to you in the opening. I said we're here to make promises both sides, but not like politicians' promises. You know, the thing where we promise you the moon, you vote based on our promises, and you see if we fulfill them. Here, we make promises in that opening statement. You get to see if we fulfill them, then you vote. Let's see what they promised compared to what we promised. They told you Rocky was the aggressor. His text messages showed he was the aggressor. Delete the text messages, we'll get to that. They told you that Rocky shot Relly with a real gun. We told you that Relly was manufacturing the story, deleting and destroying evidence. He was trying to extort Rocky, which came through. That Relly was a real aggressor. Rocky used the problem to defend himself. There are two hurdles that they have to overcome to get a conviction in this case. Two hurdles. They cannot overcome them. One is that an object in Rocky's hand on November 6, 2021 was not a prop gun. Beyond the reasonable doubt. Second is that Rocky did not act in self-defense from 12-year ills. Judge instructed you, if the prosecution failed to prove the object in Rocky's hand was not a prop gun beyond a reasonable doubt, the case is over. It's over. Beyond a reasonable doubt. You can stop there. It's over. Judge also told you that regardless of what Rocky had in his hand, if you find that he acted in self-defense or in defense of 12-year ills, he's also not guilty. That's the law. It's not our argument. They bear the heavy, heavy burden of disproving self-defense or defense of another beyond a reasonable doubt. And that's a burden that they cannot carry in this case, not even close. Relly threatened Rocky, Relly threatened Schwelby, Relly repeatedly punched Ills and ragdolled Ills. And we're going to show you that again on the video. Slowly. You had it narrated to you, but you can see it on the video. Before we do that and talk about it, let's discuss why they can't overcome that first hurdle. First, beyond a reasonable doubt, that the object in Rocky's hand was real, was not a firearm, because they cannot, absolutely cannot overcome that. There is incontrovertible evidence and testimony in this case, and other evidence that shows you the object that Rocky was possessing was a firearm. Unimpeached, not a real firearm. And they asked why. First of all, remember, there's no evidence in the record Rocky was licensed to carry in 2021. He wasn't. But Schwelby and Lou told you it wasn't a real gun. Two people came in here, took an oath, and told you it was not a real gun. Lou Levin told you where it came from. That B&B music video, he identified it with Rocky and Rihanna from July of 2021, right before. He told you he put a clip drawer on it, essentially a belt clip, to put the piece onto a belt to make it easy to carry. And he extended the magazine with a clear magazine to make it look more intimidating because the Glock he had Top Gun Glock with 26 sword pits in a pocket. It's really small. So this was meant as a deterrent. Mr. Sloman told you that Lou Levin couldn't name the security guy who advised Rocky to carry Top Gun. He was never asked. And he didn't say security guy. He said Rocky's security team. Testimony you could, by the way, you can always have the testimony read back to you at any point. If there's any dispute, I know you guys can do crazy things, but if there's any dispute, you can always say, can we have that part read back of the testimony where Mr. Lennon talked about the security people who advised on or whatever, type of that. So he never was asked. He didn't say a security guy. He said security team, and he just said he concurred. He wasn't pretending to be a security advisor that they mocked him. They didn't ask him that, yet they just tried to argue that to you. Mr. Levin also told you that the prop gun didn't serve its intended purpose on November 6th, obviously, 2021. And Rocky gave it back to him, and he gave it back to this co-director from the DMV video when he went to New York next. He didn't remember if it was December, January, or whatever. By the way, we didn't bring in a picture of the DMV video. They're the ones with the burden of proof here, folks. They have the burden. The DMV videos were all to see. It's out there. They could have, if they wanted to, subpoenaed it. They could have burned it in. Took it on YouTube. They didn't do that.
Burden, not YouTube. Okay, not YouTube. Don't listen to YouTube, jurors.
Levin told you, he asked the co-director, this guy Haji, where the prop gun went. He did call him back after 5 months later when Rocky was eventually charged and then sued. And Haji, this Popcorn guy, the director, co-director, said he didn't know that he explained he had a studio, a big studio in common with other directors of these videos and films and whatnot. And he said it was common space that had cameras, lighting equipment, prop equipment, and everything else that was borrowed and exchanged and whatnot between a bunch of people. That's uncontroverted testimony. And it was gone. The guy Haji couldn't find it. Don't think Lou didn't try. He did. The guy Haji said it was gone. And you heard the DA spoke. They told you. They told Lou. They spoke to Haji. They recorded it. They told you. And you know, if Haji said anything inconsistent with what Lou said, you're going to hear that thing.
Your Honor, we found out about it that day. It's improper.
There are no speaking objections. There are no speaking objections. I've told you that. You will have an opportunity in your rebuttal argument.
Objection, improper argument.
Overruled.
Because if he says it loud, people, it's going to get sustained.
Objection, improper
Sustained.
argument.
That is sustained. Don't do that.
Stop it, Lewin, you crybaby.
You would have heard. You know, they knew about Lou Levin prosecution before this trial started. They knew before this trial started, he said that the prop gun came from a music video that could have looked like, and they could have looked prop houses, the music video, whatever else. They could have done it too. But they're going to say, oh, we didn't do it. Again, we have absolutely no burden to do anything. We did provide live witness testimony. We cross-examined people. It wasn't a surprise to them. They didn't want to look into it, they knew what they were going to find. That's why you didn't hear anything.
That's improper argument. Overruled.
Stop it.
His words and actions on November 6, 2021 show you it wasn't the real gun. His words and actions show you. All the prosecution's objective evidence in this case, everything that doesn't come from Relly shows you this was not a real gun. Common sense also shows you it was not a real gun. On that last point, the prosecution would have you believe that Rocky, you saw that video, shot a real gun at his friend Ills, who was right there. I mean, Ills was right there. According to them, he shot the gun, a real gun.
He didn't point it at him.
That makes no sense. You saw the video. The second shot, Ills was right there. There's no way, even if that was a real gun.
The second shot was shot over
No
up
way.
in the air, though. You guys are improperly
Yeah, then,
seeing
well,
it.
you know, why? Why would he get rid of the prop gun? So we haven't explained that. I think
It's
we
not
did.
going to do
I
him
think
any
we
more.
explained that pretty well, pretty clearly. Remember, they didn't know 5 months later the police would come. They weren't thinking, oh, we better save this in case, I don't know, next year at some point I get arrested. That was the furthest thing from Rocky's mind. They did know that it did not serve its intended purpose. They did know that. So that was the end of that. Rocky got rid of that prop gun that didn't work and instead beefed up his security. So now he had to have security all the time instead of just going to events, even when he was his friends on the street. Of course, he didn't know the police were going to be involved 5 months later.
Y'all no longer serve a purpose, you're right.
So 12 and Lou Levin, you heard from each of them. And before we get into what they said, let's talk about the process. What's supposed to be about the search for the truth. That's what it's meant to be. It's not supposed to be about just trying to win. That's what it's not supposed to be about. Especially when you have the power of law enforcement behind you. You know, it's the prosecutor's job to make sure that innocent people go free also. And it makes sense that all the witnesses come to your attention. All the witnesses come to your attention, as we had to do in this case. You can see that responsible citizens came in here as witnesses who were often treated roughly and ridiculed, attacked by Mr. Lewin, an obsession to win, attacked. You don't
He
treat
did.
witnesses who came in here, don't get paid to tell the truth, have no financial motive. You don't treat them like that. Just purely and simply because they're not saying what you want them to say in your version of what the truth might be.
That's facts. He did treat him like shit.
Mark Twain
I was
very
appalled.
often once said, to a man with a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Improper argument, Your Honor.
That came to life.
You know he's wanting to fucking object. You know it.
Prosecution embraced relevant in this case, though. Embraced it. Didn't even once mention to you all, okay, he perjured himself before you guys many times. Told things fake, that weren't fake. He lied to your faces. That wasn't even mentioned this morning. They defend him despite his despicable acts and his despicable conduct. And with our witnesses, Mr. Lewin carried it to them like they were serial killers. And I mean Twelby and Lou Levin. They were the polar opposites of Relly in every way. How they conducted themselves.
They were dignified. Yeah, they were dignified.
They weren't disrespectful. They were compliant and they were responsive to both sides. To both sides. Compare those human beings to what you saw the week before that. They weren't belligerent. They didn't throw water bottles. They didn't curse. I mean, Relly, who couldn't answer any
Really was the
questions
only
straight,
one to gain anything.
admitted to lying. And when he didn't admit to lying, got impeached with prior inconsistent statements. I'm not going to go through them all. You know, when you know the truth and when you tell the truth, you don't have to rehearse the truth.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about being,
You don't have to get your memory refreshed.
or you don't have to
You don't
be,
have to be reminded of the truth when you know the truth and tell the truth.
you don't have to think like you're being slick. You're getting.
You don't have to have someone telling you how
I
to
can't
answer
think of the word.
questions. Like Relly was told in this case.
You're being tricked. If you're telling the
Don't get
truth, you
tricked
don't
up.
have to worry about somebody trying to trip you up and trick you.
All witnesses answered every question.
If you got
without
truth on
intent,
your
without
side,
harm.
that's just my opinion.
They were consistent. They didn't get tripped up once. There was not one inconsistency. So the response to that is, oh, they were coached very well. They're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, I guess. Because if they had been caught up and tripped up and been inconsistent, and their truth was inconsistent, well then they're liars. Or they weren't consistent. But because they were so consistent and they didn't get impeached, they couldn't lay low on them. Oh, they must have been coached.
Mm-hmm. That's what they always say,
They were
though.
not coached. They were consistent because they were telling the truth. You saw that demeanor.
But they just barely made a statement. Like,
Both told you previously carried a problem for that 6-month period. Making the victim of acts of violence. And Rocky had it on November 6, 2021. And now Rocky's friends knew he had friends. They didn't announce it to the world. Of course, that would be stupid to say, put a social media post out, carry a prop gun. In case you want to attack me, it's really only profit. No,
right.
Who said?
Right.
He said, it was an immediate group of friends. The prosecution peppered Twelby with questions about a summary of what he told us, the lawyers. As if that summary contained his prior sworn testimony or prior recorded statements, but it didn't. That's why the judge said it was irrelevant what Twelby saw in that document.
That's an improper argument.
Read that. That's why the judge said it's irrelevant what Twelby saw in that summary document. Irrelevant.
That is an improper argument.
Instead, the summary was simply something that lawyers have to provide as procedural discovery in this case. Look, when I hear this, they're going to try and pretend like we just came up with this prop in defense. Rocky has been saying that since day one. Here's the testimony of Detective Flores on this issue. Detective Flores was asked, was this something, when he was asked, because he was asked on direct about when did he first find out about the prop in defense? And he said, there were no deposition in criminal case for the question before. Then I said, all right. So basically, what you were being asked when we're talking about that, you just found out about this prop are being asked are questions related to discovery disclosure in a criminal case, correct? And he said, yes. So Detective Flores, who's very honest, and I think tried to do the job here, told you what that was about. See, if you just listen to the director in this case, it would make it sound like only 2 weeks ago, oh, there was a prop claim. It's been since day one for Rocky. Discovery in a criminal case is what he was being asked about. I mean, you also heard that it was revealed before jury selection, the day, I think, before jury selection, no, sorry, the day before opening statements, that we got a ballistics report from them that was done over a year before. The day before opening statements, after you guys were impounded. Okay. Whatever. He goes crying and screaming. A year after they did it, Detective Flores said, we got it after you guys were impounded in 2025. Detective Zizzo, Sergeant Zizzo, now former police officer Zizzo, said on the witness stand, we may have missed it. We didn't search the whole street. I said, really? Looking at his report, like, when did you say that for the first time? He said, today, this morning, he told them that for the first time. Okay. I'm saying, oh, they just came up with it. This is real life. This is a trial. This is what happens. Sometimes witnesses remember things later, sometimes they don't. But I'm not accusing anyone of perjuring themselves like police officer Zizzo, because he just remembered that today, 5 years later. You know? I mean, sort of odd. 5 years after the fact, he remembers they may have missed it. That's okay. Look, more importantly, as Shelby told you, what he testified to here in this courtroom is what he told us previously and what he saw that night. Period. He was consistent, he was credible, unlike Relly, who actually contradicted his own recorded statements, and unlike Relly, who actually contradicted his prior sworn testimony over and over again. He committed perjury, he bragged about committed perjury. And the fact that the prosecution tried to make you believe that his summary was Trump's actual statement when it wasn't. It's a game. It's another example of a game. Here's another one. The prosecution asked Shelby how he knew it was a prop gun if he never spoke to Rocky about it. That was completely misstating what Shelby said on direct testimony. Completely. Shelby didn't say he never spoke to Rocky about it. He said the opposite. He said they did speak about it prior to November 6, 2021, in September of 2021 in Harlem at that governor's ball thing, and after he first saw it at the DMV video. He said they spoke about it. But he was ripped apart. You never spoke to Rocky about that, you said. He didn't say that. What other games they play with 12B? You heard this one. You heard Detective Flores tell you that before 2 weeks ago, neither he nor any member of law enforcement ever tried to reach out to 12. 2025. This event happened in 2021. Before 2 weeks ago, before January of 2025, neither he, the lead detective in this case, or any member of law enforcement tried to reach out to 12. They knew who he was, obviously. But that still didn't prevent Mr. Lewin from asking 12 if before those last 2 weeks, didn't you get a message from us? Didn't you get a message from us? No, Mr. Lewin, you didn't get a message from me. Detective Flores already cleared that up pretty clearly. He didn't get a message from you. They knew he didn't contact 12. They knew they didn't try to contact 12 before 2 weeks ago. But he asked him that question. Why don't you give a false impression that somehow 12 ignored a message? That somehow 12 ignored a message? Oh, I'm sorry.
Disparaging counsel.
Yeah, correct. There cannot be any disparaging of personal attacks.
So it's not personal. It's a question was asked that. Okay,
Do not debate with me.
Sorry.
About a ruling.
Yep.
The objection sustained. Go ahead.
okay, well, you heard the testimony, you saw what happened. You figured out what it was all about, but 12 was asked, didn't you get a message from us in the past? When Detective Flores said, no, no one left him a message, no one tried to reach him. So I don't want to disparage anyone, but you just gotta ask yourself, why was that question asked? If it didn't happen. Look, you know, what I say, the games, they're a constant theme in this trial. Here's another one. Prosecution asked 12 about photos taken in Rocky's bedroom, which showed Rocky's registered firearms and not a prop gun there. Those photos were taken during a search of Rocky's residence in April of 2022. 5 months after the incident on Vista Del Mar in November of 2021. 5 months later. So the fact that there was no prop gun there means absolutely nothing. You heard what happened to the prop gun way before that. And here's this also, think about this. And why was there no prop gun in the house? You heard why Rocky, for that 5-6 month period, carried a prop gun on advice of security. Because he'd been subject to episodes of violence. He had a stalker, his face was slashed, home invasion, okay? But he'd been subject to violence on the street, he didn't have a carry. Okay? So when he wasn't with security, he had this thing to hopefully deter people. At home, he had licensed firearms. Now, because a prop is meant to deter would-be attackers, if they're already in his home, less in his bedroom, there aren't would-be attackers anymore. They're in fact attackers. Also with the registered guns found in Rocky's house, I guess that the Flores, if they were legally registered to Rocky, and they objected. They objected to that question.
No, that's an improper argument. Sustained.
Well, those in fact were registered to Rocky, legal. Others were registered to Lou, legal. Everything in that house was legal and given back to Lou Levin, who was there at the time of the search. They mocked Lou like he must have made that up. Not just Lou's magazine, the guns were legal too. They were, 2 of them were, one of them was, and 2 was Rocky's. You heard that from the paper. It was legal and registered. Detective Flores made it clear that the weapons found in Rocky's home were legal. So there should have been no dispute over that at all. Search for the truth is what this should be about. I'm trying to win at all costs. It's not a game. It's not a game, certainly for him and his family. It's not a game. In fact, prosecution did absolutely nothing, gentlemen, to impeach the testimony of Crowley. Nothing. Yeah, he got loud and yelled at them a little. But saying liar, liar, pants on fire is not impeachment. You didn't move them off their story once. They were consistent. They stayed exactly consistent with their story the entire time because the truth is easy to remember. The truth is easy to tell. They were not impeached, not once. The fact of the matter is, by the way, it wasn't lack of trying. I mean, they were yelled at, they were berated. I mean, at one point, 12 spoke a dialect from his upbringing, from the street where he's from. And he said this thing, and I personally, he's one of the nicest guys I've ever seen. He said this thing where he's like, "You feel me? You feel me?" That was just a matter of speed. But Mr. Lewin had to take that. Say, "No, I don't feel you. I don't really mean
You feel me?
Proper argument.
Overruled.
No need to mock a witness who came in here and was compliant and respectful. So they were grilled both 12E, and they were grilled about many, many things, including the financial motives of being here. Again, they don't contradict their testimony. I mean, Mr. Preslomic this morning spent a lot of time in their testimony, not about their misstatements or their inconsistencies or contradictions or their impeachments, but just repeated their testimony, but in a sarcastic voice, as if that makes it not true. That's not true. That's definitely not true beyond reasonable doubt. So anyway, the financial motive that they were both crushed on in their cross-examinations, 12 and Lou. 12 said zero. He went zero from him. For Rocky, nothing. He's got his own career, actually, pretty well. Lou said he makes a portion of his salary from Rocky, and he does, and he loves Rocky. They both love Rocky. So no one's trying to pretend that here is unbiased with us. They love him. But it's an interesting thing, though. They were so concerned about his both of their financial motives. Not once did the prosecution take issue with the fact that their own witness, Relly, was here because of his financial motivation, and only his financial motivation. A $30 million financial motivation. But they're asking Lou Levin, don't you get 20% of your salary from him? Or that poor IT guy who had to fly from Paris. You made $20,000 last year from him, huh? I mean, that guy's looking $30 million for that. Nothing scrapes. By the way, if Relly got his $30 million that he wanted, that he said repeatedly, they'd have no witness in this case, as you now know, because he'd be on island somewhere relaxing while they were searching for him. Instead, Relly wants to use law enforcement as a money collector, because he didn't care about the police. You heard him say that many times. And if he got his money, these guys go pound sand. They'll never find him. He's going to be on an island. And he told you how that process works. That game here, that game. But talk about extraordinary bias that they just want you to ignore. They don't even mention that. It can't be, and it shouldn't be. But it's why we're here in this courtroom. It's why we're all here. What else should be ignored? Despite all the prosecution's efforts, despite the blistering questions posed, that both 12 and Lou Levin established these incontrovertible facts. They're not controverted. They're not contested. That Rocky was known to carry a product by his friends. They didn't controvert that at all. The object in his hands on November 6, 2021 was a product. Relly's own actions on November 6, 2021 confirmed that. 12 testified during the first altercation. Relly said something to the effect of, shoot that big ass gun, which explains his later conduct, by the way. Now, Relly said he didn't say that. So, now you have to see, who's more credible, more trustworthy? Relly or Relly? So that's what you have, the words of the two of them, in that regard, in that one thing. And consistent with his knowledge that it was a fake gun, look what he did after the first altercation, which is impossible to get around for them. The first altercation by the parking garage, where he's claims he's pulled a gun, is pulled on a real gun that he doesn't know is a fake gun. He continues to follow the guy who pulls the real gun and, according to him, threatens to kill him. So think about that for a second. When you talk about a reasonable doubt or a doubt based on reason, think about that. That was so odd. I mean, he said, yeah, the guy pulled out a gun on me. I thought it was a real gun, and he threatened to kill me. So after he walked away, I decided to follow him. I don't follow him, berate him as I'm following him, almost begging him to shoot me. Well, see Detective Flores, but anyway, Detective Flores told me what he thought about that. He testified. He said, that would be an odd thing for Relly to do. It's testimony from his trial. Mr. Efron, on December 2021, you asked him why he continued to follow Mr. Mayers if he knew he had a gun, right? Answer yes, of course. Question, because according to you, you told him that would seem to be an odd thing to do, right?
Yeah, why follow him? Why follow him?
Right?
You said you wasn't afraid,
Yes.
so why are we here?
It's an odd thing to do if you know it's a real gun. Not so much an odd thing to do if you think it's a fake gun or a pop gun.
I know I sure the fuck ain't following somebody
And of
behind
course,
somebody with a gun, a real
When
gun.
Rutland was questioned
Ain't no
about
way.
why he would do that, about being an odd thing to do, his answer was, Flores was questioned about it, really said, I don't know. That was his answer to Detective Flores early on when he questioned him. When you asked Mr. Efron why did he continue to follow Mr. Mayers after seeing the gun, what he said was he didn't know why. So Detective Flores, and he said correct, Detective Flores questioned him about it, and the best Relly could do at that point he said, I don't know, I thought it was real gun.
I still want to know, was it a Dunkin' Donuts bag or a black plastic bag?
The truth, that was a problem. He knew that. That alone is reasonable doubt. That is a reasonable doubt. Whew. That's it. Just say one.
Don't go crying, Lewin.
Just one.
That's an improper statement of the law.
In fact, the lack of evidence further shows that
You got to brush it off. You can lose the case for your client. If getting angry, getting upset, and all that stuff, just don't do it.
That there was no sign of a shooting, there was no blood, no bullet holes, no shell casings, no physical evidence at all.
Even though they're not supposed to like base their
That's from the testimony at this trial.
their decision on how the likability of the
No blood,
lawyers, but still they
no
do.
bullet holes, no, sir. No shell casings, no physical evidence of a shooting was recovered at all. No, sir. So that was the guy who was there within 15 minutes. And we heard from the body cam footage from one of the other responding officers, turned out to be Sergeant John Cook, Officer Zizzo said. Sergeant Cook said, there's going to be no evidence for now. We have no victims, no hits, no evidence. That's the sergeant. Body cam footage, that's Officer Zizzo's testimony. Also captured on Sergeant Cook's body cam footage is him saying, as of now, or no victims as of now, unless it pops up in the hospital, probably just a warning shot. That's testimony in front of you all in this trial. Again, so no victims as of now, unless it pops up in the hospital, is probably just a warning shot, right? That's what he said. Sergeant Zizzo said to us. Well, Sergeant Cook was close. It was actually 2 warning shots from the prop gun. Ladies and gentlemen, the prosecution cannot prove otherwise beyond a reasonable doubt. They cannot. Beyond a reasonable doubt. Not without Relly being totally believable. Not without Relly being totally believable. And he is not worth it. I don't think I need to spend much time arguing that. That's why, in addition to asking him about November 6th, 2021, which we spent some time doing, we spent so much time questioning him about his credibility. And I'm sorry he was on the witness stand for 5 days. The reason he was on the witness stand for 5 days, I was only 2 total days with him. But the reason he was here that long is because he didn't answer questions. Like, questions had to be asked on cross anyway. 3, 4 times, the judge had to get involved. That's why he was here so long. Well, because without him, when he questioned his credibility, it's not because I was having fun speaking to him. I wasn't. But when you question his credibility, it's because his credibility is at issue. Because without him and his credible testimony, the prosecution has 0 evidence of a shooting. They even have to prove, they have 0 evidence to prove that it was an operable gun, let alone shooting. Consider that. What's the prosecution's evidence that the object in Rocky's hand on November 6, 2021 was not a prop gun. What's their evidence? Relly's shell casings, okay, those. Relly's knuckle scrapes, and the videos from parking garage at 1616 Vista Del Mar and 6200 Hollywood Boulevard. But remember what Detective Flores said about those videos. First, he said, there's no evidence from 1616 Vista Del Mar of an actual gun being discharged. I asked him that question, and he said, correct. From that view by itself, no. Well, that's the only view we have of 1616 Vista Del Mar, that video. They're all there, and it's all like. Then, second, I said the only time you could see a gun in any video was the parking garage video. And in that one, you can't tell if it's operable, whether it's an operable gun, a real gun or not, right, Detective Flores? And he was honest. You first cited the fact the gun was displayed, right? Which you already told this jury that the gun that was displayed, the only time you could see a gun in any video was the parking garage video, correct? You already told this jury, by that video, you can't tell if it's operable, right? Correct. So if he can't tell it's operable, how are you supposed to do? Detective Flores can't tell you it's operable. How are you supposed to tell it's operable? You have to believe Relly's story. All of it. And his credibility. Then, third, what else they have? Well, sounds, those two sounds. Okay. The gunshot sounds heard on the 6200 Hollywood Boulevard video could have been made by some kind of replica firearm, according to Detective Flores. He said, aside from a gun, I asked him, what else could make those sounds? An operable gun, I should say. And then he said, the sound I heard off the camera, I mean a firearm, some kind of replica firearm. He also acknowledged that a replica firearm could also make that sound, a starter pistol could make that sound. That's Detective Flores. It's a case detective. Let that sink in for a moment, folks, please. The prosecution's case detective told you the sound that they rely on to prove that Rocky had an operable firearm that night, beyond a reasonable doubt, could have been made by a non-operable prop gun. That's it. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it. That's all you need right there. In other words, the videos in and of themselves don't prove that what Rocky had was an operable firearm beyond a reasonable doubt. The case detective could use that. What else does the prosecution have to rely on? Relly's knuckle scrapes. But even they don't believe that's a gunshot wound. What they said in their opening statement about Relly's knuckle scrapes. Perhaps they were bullet graze, perhaps they were not. Well, perhaps they were not. That's what they want you to accept as proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Perhaps they were not. What else did they say in their opening about those scrapes? Whether the victim or not the victim in this case was actually shot or injured by this will not be something that you will have to decide at the end of this case. They told you in opening statements. Really? Says who? Says who? They told you that because they themselves don't believe. Those knuckles.
I've already read the jury instructions to you, and one of those jury instructions lists the elements of what assault with a semi-automatic pistol is. Each of those elements have to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. What those elements are, that is the law in California. There's two, what an assault with a semi-automatic pistol is.
One of the objections actually to what said what the prosecution wants.
That part's overruled.
But anyway, regarding the law, this is not about an element of the law, ladies and gentlemen. This It's about the credibility of the only witness in this case, the prosecution. That's what that argument was about. The credibility, I mean, you have to, so whether it was a bullet shot or not, or a scrape from the floor, it does matter. It does matter. Of course, they don't want you to consider that. Because first, whether Relly was truthful about his injury goes to his credibility. Credibility, not about the elements of the law. It goes to his credibility, whether he's truthful about the nature of the injuries. And second, whether or not Relly was actually injured by a bullet is something important to consider in deciding whether Rocky had an operable firearm or a prop gun. Those are the two reasons. I just brought that up to you. Those are the two reasons. So I disagree with him. You do have to consider whether he was hit by a bullet or not, because he said he was. At first, anyway. Because obviously a prop gun can't cause that injury. So was that a gunshot wound? Of course not. Of course that wasn't a gunshot wound. Even Relly couldn't tell you those scrapes were definitely from a bullet. At least at trial, he couldn't tell you. Look at his testimony when discussing whether he was grazed by a bullet. I guess whatever is left from the bullet or the floor or whatever, I don't know. I can't see. Okay. So it's either what was left from the bullet or the floor. Well, I guess it could have been the floor. I don't know. I can't see. That's not what he said in his lawsuit. Lawsuit, he said he was shot. And he wants $30 million because he was shot. Now it's maybe it was the floor. I mean, does the truth mean anything to him? Does an oath mean anything at all? He really doesn't believe what he said to you at the beginning. I can say whatever I want, do whatever I want. That's that. And that's what they want you to accept as truth beyond a reasonable doubt of you. Relly said it could have been the floor. Of course it was the floor. When he was punching Gills, of course it wasn't the floor. It's on his left hand. Relly said he was left. But regardless, there's no bullet in the world that could have done that. I mean, think about it. It scrapes the top of one knuckle, does a bit of a dive to the second knuckle, does a real deep dive to that third knuckle, and then scoots along. And that would be one heck of a magic bullet to do that. Just looking at those knuckle scrapes, no one has to be an expert in anything. You know, they are not from a bullet. You want to put them up for a second? Yeah. Bullet. $30 million. Because no one with eyes in the brain thinks that's a bullet wound. That's what he said. Grazed by a bullet.
They look like bite marks to me. They look like he punched someone in the mouth. It's what it looks like when you fight somebody. Not when you get fucking shot. Not when,
I mean,
no.
He still wrote a
Gotta
lawsuit
learn how not to
saying
swear.
he required necessary
But,
medical attention.
yeah.
Bullet wound, he said. Ridiculous. And it, by the way, it's the same knuckles you saw in his boomerang Instagram video we posted on his manicured hands, which I think we showed to the jury. Yeah. That's a permanent injury that only $30 million would take care of. He first told the police that he treated the scrapes by himself the day they occurred. That's what Officer Anderson testified to. But then days later, after traveling all the way back to New York cross country, he first went to a hospital in New York for medical treatment. Here he said, because he doesn't trust anything that in Los Angeles. Why did he go to the hospital in New York? Not because he required medical treatment for those scrapes, but because the detective on November 9th, 2021, told him during an interview that he needs to get treated because this is the type of case this is. This is Detective Flores' testimony. Her statement, Detective Manfred, was that he needs to go to get medical treatment because of the type of case that
Don't
this is.
get
Correct.
angry. Like, come on.
So a detective is telling him on November 9th, you need to go to a hospital, get treated because of the type of case that this is. Normally, tell someone to go to the hospital because they need medical attention, not the manufacturer of thing in a case. That is offensive, and it should be offensive to you because of the type of cases that you should go to the hospital. Make it look like you require a hospital visit. You know, it's bad enough that the prosecution main, and I say only witness, manufactured evidence in this case. You don't need to manufacture a hospital visit. But he did just that with the shell casings also, manufactured evidence in this case. The only evidence they presented to try and establish that Rocky had an operable firearm. I'm going to take you through this. It's not going to be a stretch, and certainly it's multiple reasons of doubt in this. You heard a lot about those shell casings in this case. What you didn't hear was what the police was at the police found. You didn't hear that because that didn't happen. The body cam footage introduced at the very beginning of this case, first witness Officer Zizzo showed that the police responded to that scene at 10:32, less than 15 minutes after the incident. Officer Zizzo told you there were 7 police officers there. You saw them on body cam video. You saw, Officer Zizzo told you, 7 officers were searching the scene for any signs of a shooting with flashlights. Those big police searchlights. For how long? Detective Flores told you, about 20 minutes they were there for searching. That's 7 minutes, 7 officers times 20 minutes. That's 140 minutes of manpower right there. 7 officers for 20 minutes of trained police officers searching with flashlights for any signs of a shooting, including shell casings. They found nothing, absolutely nothing. You heard the stipulation at the end. The stipulation needs to be agreed, the defense and the prosecution. At the end of the case, just before the judge's instructions the other day, it's Tuesday, right? It's the last day of Tuesday. The stipulation between us and the prosecution that a prop gun would also have ejected cartridges. But importantly, that stipulation makes clear that the shell casings recovered in this case did not come from a prop gun. That's for sure. And of course not. Lou explained that as well. That prop gun ejects blank cartridges. And bear this in mind, this is important. This part is important. The police came looking for evidence of a shooting. They were looking for those steel metal jackets, those shell casings. There was 0 evidence on this record. 0. I defy them to show anything on this record whatsoever regarding what those blank cartridges look like or how they were ejected from a prop gun. There is 0 evidence.
That's the improper argument. It misstates the evidence in the case.
Oh, it does not?
I don't recall every word that has been stated by every witness during the entire trial. So I don't know if it misstates the evidence or not. If this is something that's important to you, then you can ask that the court.
This is so dumb.
Right?
Like, stop having them freaking. You shouldn't be interrupting. Judge, stop it.
I asked, show the evidence of what the casing from a prop gun looks like. Show the evidence of that to you. I don't want to state the evidence. So there, I lay that challenge down. Show the evidence. I don't want to say it, show it. There's no evidence whatsoever regarding what blank cartridges look like or how they would have ejected from a crime. No evidence of what they would look like, okay? There's no evidence regarding what material those blank cartridges would have been made of. You heard about paper and plastic from Lululemon. Paper and plastic, or how far or in what direction they would have been ejected. There's no evidence of that at all from the prop gun, or whether they would have still been intact or not from a prop gun. You heard no evidence of that. In other words, there's been no evidence whether the blank cartridge from Rocky's prop gun would have been observable to the police as the shiny metallic shell casing from a real firearm. No evidence of that. And they had plenty of opportunity. They had a ballistics expert in here. He could have told you, oh no, blank cartridge shell casing look exactly like 9mm shell casings. They're steel. They could have done that. They didn't ask one question about that. They didn't ask.
No chain of custody, period.
They asked our witness, Lululemon, about it.
And it is kind of odd that he was at a shooting range 2 weeks before.
So yes, they do eject. Talk about paper bullets in the front. Describe what the casings look like at all. Or how if they would have split or not split. Or were they shiny metal things that like those 9mm shell casings? In any event, the police found nothing, no evidence of a shooting whatsoever, no bullet holes, no blood, no damage to any one of those cars, which would have almost been impossible. No damage to any one of those cars in the parking lot right there.
Yep, no cars were hit, nothing.
This bears emphasis.
Something would have been hit. I just feel like something would have been hit.
140 minutes.
No marks on the ground.
With
Just
searchlights.
Weird.
But really, I want you to believe he found it by himself with a cell phone flashlight in 2 to 3 minutes. An hour and a half later. Flies in the face of common sense. Defies reason. And what does the prosecution do to try and get around that devastating fact in their case? They suggest that the police didn't know where to look. They actually asked, was it possible to use the shell casings? As you sit here, can you say to a certain, that's them questioning their witness. Can you say to a certainty that there was not a fired cartridge case?
I don't like that I can't see.
Answer, I can't say. I may have missed it.
Still can't read it.
Again, it's possible.
This is a closing that I'm gonna have to like rewatch.
They broke that promise on the very first witness. Possible is not proof beyond a reasonable doubt, but neither is
because I had to watch his opening like 3 different times before like it made sense.
Possibly looking in the wrong place. Possibly looking in the wrong place. They actually told you in their opening statement that the officers didn't know exactly where to look. They said that to you in their opening statement. They didn't know exactly where to look. But the one problem with that excuse is there's a video. There's a video and body cam footage that show the police in the location exactly where to look. Exactly where to look. Here's the side-by-side images. Okay, there's the right, jump up here on. Everyone see my blocking? Okay, so here's the officer searching. Yeah. There's that orange wall I keep saying. This is where it will happen, right here, right here. And they're searching right there with these flashlights. Now there's this person who really first swore was him. He swore was him at 11:09, and then said it wasn't him, but it was him at first. But some news coming back here at 11:09, right across that orange wall where they're searching. Anyway, you also know this is where the tussling happened and the prop gun was shot. We have a shot of from the video where that was, where you have to do that. We'll do that later. But anyway, we remember the wall here. We'll show it's near the corner of Vista Del Mar and Selma. And this is where, at one point, you saw 12 we run into. What happened right here? Looking in the exact right spot. But we didn't know where to look. They actually said that, you know, they had those videos. They're videos. So regardless of how far blank cartridges may eject or what they may look like after being fired from a prop gun, one thing is certain. The police searched that exact same location. That Relly said is that on that video, when he returned to the scene, or now he didn't return to the scene, because now there's no evidence that he returned to the scene at all. Thanks. Well, I was in trouble, just assigned to break, so. Documents. Right there. Anyway, it's the same exact location. I don't know why they said the community mistake. They didn't know what location was. They were there. They got lucky because they hit the exact spot where Relly Rocking Hills could be seen at the moment of the shot. Police didn't find Relly shell casings. Impossible for them to miss that. 7 officers, 20 minutes, searchlights. Impossible. Those were not there 15 minutes after this event. They were not there. So what does the prosecution do? And Relly then, what does he do? They change their story and say now, maybe that wasn't actually Relly on video after all. They did it right here in front of you. That was all right in front of you in 2025. Because part of his testimony, and I wasn't even involved yet, that was all Mr. Brzlovic, he said, yes, that's me, 1109 guy. That's me. Yes. And this was all right, you sure? I'm sure. Well, you know, weren't you wearing a black hoodie before and that looks like a white hoodie? Yeah, I probably went and changed. So it was only how to impeach his own witness. And you'll see what happens. Once again, they say possibly. There was possibly additional. So the solution to that now, being him now, because he swore he came back. So I asked Detective Flores, what's this guy's? Oh, this is Relly's testimony. Okay. Right, that's where he said, yeah, that's me. Okay, but I just said all that to you, but there is in the transcript, just in case I thought I was picking that up at a whole cloth. I said, yeah, I'm sure. So, they said, just to you just now, shocked a little bit by this one, I was shocked by this one, that I made a mistake to you in my opening by saying that was Relly. I made a mistake to you. Relly swore on the oath it was him to you. But I made a mistake in my opening. He swore to you under oath it was him until he changed. Until they impeached their witness and got him to change his testimony. That, oh no, it wasn't me. In fact, that same person in that video was there between 11:09 and
They sure did impeach their own witness, which is crazy. Why would you impeach your own witness? He's telling the truth, right? So why impeach him?
Talk about that. And he told you that the time of 11:11, when the person in the video enters, is consistent when Relly told the police he returned to the scene. Of course, there were multiple problems with that story. First, he said that his girlfriend, Lydia Parker, was with him at the time he supposedly searched the area and recovered those shell casings. You know the video doesn't show you that. Not that video. What other problem does the prosecution have with Relly's story about picking up shell casings? The photos, which Relly claims he took at the scene, were timestamped on his phone. And they showed the photos were actually taken at 11:40, between 11:45 and 11:48 p.m. That's more than a half hour after he said he was there. Half hour after he said he was there. So, make no mistake about it, the prosecution realized they had a problem with evidence here, a big problem. So despite that fact, they took the position for years that that guy who came back at 11:09 with Relly, returned to the scene in that video, And despite the fact that Relly told you at this trial he was sure it was him, the prosecution then impeached their own witness to get him to say, no, that wasn't me. And because Relly, let me see, hold on a second, I know you want to break. Maybe about 5 more minutes, so one side.
No.
Okay.
2:45 is when we break.
Yeah, let's do it now.
All right, folks, we'll take a break until 3 o'clock. Please be outside the courtroom doors at that time. Please don't discuss the case, and we'll see you about 15 minutes.
Break time. I don't know how much longer he's got on his clothes. But whatever's. But whatever's. I don't know. I'm gonna have to rewatch his closing because I'm getting lost. It just doesn't seem like it's well. I don't know. And it doesn't help the fact that the prosecution keeps on interrupting like they did in his opening.
Here's you gave strict instructions to both counsel, and there are also repeated court of appeal in California Supreme Court decisions about disparaging other lawyers. Let me be clear what was stated. Mr. Prislenek never said anything about the lawyers who talked about the defense. The defense has said as follows: we're trying to win at all costs. We only care about winning, not just. Did I sustain that objection? No, you did not until the 4th time I asked it, Your Honor. I objected 4 times. Let me continue. We suborned perjury, stated 3 times.
Cry, baby.
I objected each time. We could have called.
Cry, baby. Cry, baby.
The court knows we found out about him that morning. The court made a finding that their discovery violation was not inadvertent. That means it was intentional. That means it was not accidental. They got up.
Quit crying.
They told this jury that they didn't hear from this witness Haji that we could have called him. The court knows we have a hearing about it. It's been very clear. The court found that they were not honest in what they provided. They were not honest about when they actually turned the information over. And now he's up here and able to argue that. And when I object, basically I'm told it's overruled. I mean, Judge, the problem is the court made these findings. The court said you could not disparage lawyers. Let's be clear. Anything that he had said was true. That we suborned perjury. That we don't care about justice. Those are reportable issues to the state bar. The court knows it's not true. I know it's not true, Your Honor. I assume he knows.
Then why are you crying about it?
And then finally, he has repeatedly misstated the standard of reasonable doubt. There is no standard whatsoever where you can say that each one of these are, quote, reasonable doubts. That is not a correct standard. The standard is looking at all the evidence.
Oh, dude.
Prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt. It is improper to say, if this fact is wrong, that is, quote, a reasonable doubt. You can argue that that evidence is important enough, etc. So they're misstating the reasonable doubt. But more than that, Your Honor, they're disobeying the court's order about disparaging other lawyers. I object. The court lets it go.
No, wait a minute. I don't let it go. If I see or I think that Mr. Tacopina is disparaging you or you are disparaging him, I will put a stop to it.
Judge, I objected 4 times. You overruled all my objections.
So, doesn't mean cry about it later. God, poor baby.
My issue.
Poor baby. God, I can't stand this prosecutor.
Disparaging both of us. Your Honor, I mean, it's not a hard question. They're saying we support perjury 3 times. Your Honor,
obviously you do, because you're standing by your witness. You impeached your own witness, dude.
Said we suborned perjury. I don't know what to tell you.
Hold on. Was that said?
I don't remember.
Your Honor,
if it was said, then I should have stopped it. But I don't remember if it was said. You have made so far 9 objections, 6 were overruled, 3 were sustained.
The problem was,
therefore, what?
The problem was, I believe the first 5 I made were all overruled. The
Oh my God. He's such a crybaby.
Court knows who I am. The court knows what my ethics are.
Who cares?
I'm not going to sit here and tell the court that I'm objecting when he didn't say it. He said repeatedly, we suborn perjury. Your Honor, that statement in and of itself is severe.
All right. Can you, in the break, can you state, if that was said, then I'll bring it to the attention of the jury. That's an improper statement.
This is what I'm asking. He's got to be able to go after our witnesses all he wants. He can even misstate the evidence. What he cannot do is he cannot argue, A, why we put a witness up there. He cannot say that we suborn perjury. He cannot say that all we care about is winning. He cannot say that this is supposed to be the pursuit of justice and the prosecution doesn't care about that. He has said all of those things. He needs to stick to the evidence in the case. Either he doesn't know California law or doesn't care.
Shut up!
The court's already found.
Crybaby.
And the worst of them, and I want the court to instruct, he got out there and argued, why did you hear from Haji? The court knows you on. The court made a finding.
You're repeating yourself.
Well, will the court do something about it? Will the court instruct that that was improper argument?
Can I respond?
No. That's failure to call logical witnesses is permissible. You're going to have a rebuttal argument. You can address it in your rebuttal argument as to why you didn't call it.
Your Honor, this is all I'm asking, Your Honor.
Aw, poor baby. All I'm asking is for.
Had many hearings on this, etc. They knew the evidence. They presented it late. They had repeated orders to turn over statements. He got up and said, that's not the statement of the witness. 1054-3 is very clear. What they gave us is supposed to be the statement of the witness. And when he's standing up saying, well, that's not his statement, that was his statement, that's what they had to turn over.
No, it's a summary. Summary, dude. You're still crying over statement.
You have not found one instance in this case, not one, where the people did not comply with discovery, where the people did anything unethical. You've already found, you used the words, it was not inadvertent. Not inadvertent, Your Honor, means they lied and they intentionally did not give us what
I don't agree with that. That's not, it doesn't mean he lied.
Your Honor, not inadvertent.
Don't argue with me. I don't think it means he lied. I just said it was not inadvertent. That's the extent of my finding. It was not inadvertent. I'm not going to debate with you whether they were or were not lying. I don't believe it was a lie. I want to give the court reporter a break, and we'll take a break until 3 o'clock.
I'll give court, I have to just respond to a few things, but there's a record here. One thing, I don't want to upset the court, so we can do it.
You're not going to upset me.
No, I'll be quick. I don't want to get further into it. I'm sorry. But there were some things that were said that were just wrong. First of all, they called our witnesses liars in their estimation. So I'm calling their witnesses a liar, which he admitted to being, by the way.
They did.
I mean, if our witnesses are lying, and I put them up there, obviously they're saying we came up with this Tottenham story. So
You can call his witnesses a lie, but you can't call yours.
That's what they're saying, number one. Number two, I can't say that they
Don't, Lewin, stop.
I can't say that. I don't think that's an improper argument. If you say it is, I won't say it again. But the other thing, Your Honor, I didn't argue that that wasn't a statement. I said it's not a sworn statement of 12 feet, and it's not a recorded statement. I said it's a summary. I'm accurate in describing it. It is a summary. I'm just going through what I said. They disparaged our entire defense, mocked it. So I'm giving them a little bit back. I don't think I'm doing something.
You want to interrupt him? When he didn't interrupt you?
And the thing that he said, though, first of all, I disagree. I think one fact of relevance would be a reasonable doubt. The jury finds he's incredible on one thing of importance, like the shell casings. That's a reasonable doubt. If they so choose, it's up to them to decide what a reasonable doubt is. That could cause them to find not guilty. That's up to them. But it certainly is an argument that can be made. They can say, no, it's not a reasonable doubt. But I can make that argument. I know. But the last thing, I think Mr. Lewin's hearing failed for a second. Because the one thing, because I know he said he has an issue with it, the one thing I never said was they could have called Haji. I wouldn't do that. I didn't say that. They could check the record. What I said was they spoke to him that morning. They had a recording of Haji. That was brought out to Lululemon. I said, if Lululemon was inconsistent with Haji, we would have heard the tape. I didn't say they could have called Haji. I can show you where I said that. I would never have said that. We could have called Haji. He wasn't willing to come. So I never said that. I just simply said what was on the record.
If it was said, Mr. Lewin can address it tomorrow. If it wasn't said, then there's nothing to address. All right, we're off the record. I want to give Kathy a break. So can you find?
God, let the lady have a break. Let her have a break. Let her have a break. Give the lady a break, man. I just think it's I think it's a bunch of bullshit. Of course, the prosecutor's throwing a fit like he always does. It doesn't look good in front of the jury when they're doing that shit. You know, and what's sad is it may cost freaking, 12 not 12 Rocky, his freedom, when they're bickering like that. Like, that's so improper. It is so improper. Like, they're acting like a bunch of children. And Rocky's Tacopino, I mean, he interrupted maybe once or twice. Didn't throw outbursts. Wasn't sitting there shaking his head. I mean, he was just sitting there taking it all in my opinion. I don't know. So the defense is going to finish their closing. Once they finish their closing, rebuttal won't be until tomorrow, and then it goes to the jury. I mean, hopefully, I'm hoping that we have a verdict tomorrow. In all honesty, I hope we have a verdict tomorrow so that the jury doesn't have to come back on Tuesday, because Monday is President's Day, and that'd be kind of sucky. So I don't know. It just seems weird to me. That's why I don't like the justice system. One can do one thing and cry when when it happens to them. They don't like it. I don't think that's fair. You were calling the defense witnesses liars, concocting stories, but because he brings up really lying, all of a sudden it's personal attacks. Well, you did the same thing, but why are you throwing a fit? Like, I don't. It just don't make no fucking sense to me. So yeah. I just hate when the law needs to be rehashed. It does. Like, the justice system as a whole needs to be redone. I don't like how they don't have to do thorough investigations, and and then they want to attack it all on the defendant, and that's not fair. It's not fair. You have the burden. You should be dotting your I's and crossing your T's. You're the one that should be doing that, not the defense. That's what sucks, is there's a lot of burden shifting. There's a lot of burden shifting, and I don't think it's fair. Excuse me. I don't think it's fair on the defendant. But at the same time, if you're a victim, I can understand, like, being a victim, you could feel like the law's only on the defendant's side and not your side, which it's meant to be like that for a reason, because we can't go around falsely accusing people of shit. I think that's why I'm really into this. Like, I really think, before you even bring a case to court, it should be a thorough investigation should go on. They didn't even try to get in contact with the other witnesses in this case. They just relied on one witness and one witness only, and I don't think that's fair to the defendant. And the defendant shouldn't have to speak to you. mean, it's you have to prove the burden. Prove that, corroborate the witness's story, corroborate the evidence. There was no chain of custody, no nothing. But anyways, after this is over, any trial recaps and stuff like that, 1250 podcast does a really good breakdown of the case. He breaks it down, so that we can understand. And I really enjoy it. So I put his link in the chat. Please sub him up. He's on the road to 10K. I'm on the road to 1,000. And I ain't never going to get there because no one comes to my thing. I thought I would be better at this than I am, but it's okay. It comes with that time. And I got to look and see what other cases are happening next week. Oh, my goodness, I keep on yawning. But yeah, so the court's on break, and then the defense should be finishing up their closing. Hopefully, fucking Lewins quits being a crybaby, unless the defense get through it. I don't know. I just think he should have hounded more on the self-defense, and of course, prop gun. But I would hound on, it shouldn't matter whether the gun was real or fake. Yeah, if the gun was fake, then yeah, of course, the rest doesn't matter. But at the same time, whether it's real or fake or not, was he acting in self-defense? And to me, he was. So he was not the aggressor. He was not the one saying, "Oh, where you at? I want to meet up with you." Really did that. Really also deleted those messages. Rocky had not. That's the other thing. Like that's another thing that makes me scratch my head. After the incident, really was asking for money. If I was trying to extort money, I wouldn't have gone to a lawyer. Oh, there's many people that go to a lawyer to try to extort money thinking that it's legal. It's not legal. It's not legal. You were asking for money before you even looked for a lawyer. Let's be honest, dude. Telling everybody that you're gonna get him for his money is not. Come on. No way. No way. So yeah. But they should be back. They should have been back. What did he say? 3:00 or 10 after 3? I don't know what time he said. They had to give the court reporter. It's mandated that they give court reporters breaks, and they do a lot. So of course, you gotta do that. So I don't know. But yeah, after this is over, let me know how you think the defense is doing. My other video was the state. Let me know how the state was doing. I don't know. To me, I would have hounded in more of the self-defense and the prop gun scenario, but that's me. That's me. Because at the end of the day, whether you find the gun real or fake, was he acting in self-defense? And I feel he was. That's just my opinion. So, yeah. And everybody, could you please hit the like? Thank you. I'm trying to get there. But yeah. We're just waiting on them to come back. Let's see what anybody else is saying on X. Let's see if there's any updates. Yeah, I think it's, yeah, I'm just not really vibing with his that's facts. They're just saying about Lewin whining. No need to mock a witness. Defense attorney Tacopino brings up prosecutor Lewin's exchange with 12 about, you feel me? Anyways, not much they're reporting on. So, anyways, I'm just waiting on them to come back. I was hoping maybe something juicy. Something juicy was going to be said on X, but nothing juicy to tell you guys about. So, I'm waiting for them to come back so I can go smoke. Mm-hmm. It should be back any minute. It's for 3:10 there. I don't know if they're going to, if he's going to be done at 4 or what's going on. Because usually they don't stay past 4:30. So I don't know how much long, but I would hammer in. I would definitely hammer in like the self-defense. F all that gun shit. Hammer in self-defense because that is your one out. That is your one out. That's your one out. That's your one out. Whether they find the gun real or fake. I mean, if they find the gun real, then I mean, all they have to worry about is self-defense. Did he act in self-defense for himself or others? And he did. He did. That's my opinion. I don't think he brought a gun just so he would have, if he wanted to shoot somebody. I mean, come on. Like his other friend was right there. Like, why would he want to try to shoot his friend? That's dumb. And I don't think he was trying to shoot really either. He was just trying to get him off of him. So they tried to retreat, and that, and really wouldn't let him retreat. Like, he kept on following him. And if you feel like somebody's got a real gun, why would you follow after them? That's what I don't understand. I don't understand all that dumb stuff. Like, let's be honest. Like, I definitely wouldn't be following after somebody if I thought that their gun was real. I wouldn't put myself in harm's way. Friend or not, there ain't no freaking way I would do that. And if we're into it, who knows? You don't know what anybody's capable of. Especially if they have a real firearm, And in this day and age, people don't know how to control their emotions. Okay, hold on. Okay, we're back. Come around there.
All right, let's go on the record. We're outside the presence of the jury.
Yes.
I asked Kathy, the court reporter, to check her notes, and she's able to do that. And, there is an indirect reference, it's not even clear, to really and embracing perjury. So far, Kathy has not found the word suborn. Embracing perjury, I don't even know what that means. But from here on out, if any counsel wants to state that a witness committed perjury, that's fair game. But I do not want, either directly or indirectly, any counsel accusing the other one of suborning perjury, encouraging perjury, touching on perjury. I don't want the word counsel and perjury being used together.
Turning a blind eye?
What?
Turning a blind eye.
It's not only untrue, it's improper.
Yeah, and stay away from that they're only, they're winning at all costs. It's just. Well, it's fair comment on the evidence.
Because Judge, the top they can say about the evidence, they cannot say prosecution is all they care about is winning their case. All they don't care about justice. That there's authority that says that is.
Yeah, no, that's.
The judge,
Stay away from that.
you don't believe it's true.
No, I don't,
So
and I know it's not.
See,
All right, so
the problem.
stay away from what the prosecution's motives are. Talk about the witnesses, don't talk about the prosecution's motive. And when Mr. Lewin speaks, you're not to talk about the motives of Mr. Tacopino or Mr. Segal.
Joe, you're free, you're free to comment on, hey, they didn't call this witness, et cetera, just not that extra step.
All right,
Well, my explanation will be much shorter now.
what's that?
My explanation will be much shorter now, so.
I doubt it. Explain it to Eric. Okay, we're gonna start at 9 o'clock. Folks, 9 a.m.
All right. All right.
Sure is one. All right, folks, for scheduling, tomorrow, we're gonna start at 9. 9:30. 9.
We're gonna think someone may have a problem.
Who's got a problem with 9?
Besides for me? Besides for me?
Yes,
Oh, sorry.
I don't have a problem, I'm not sure that I can make it by 9. I mean, I have to drop off my kids in the
Oh.
morning, so I come right after.
Can you do your best?
Yeah, of course.
All right, I'm gonna order everybody to be here at 9, but try to get here at 9, but if, you're late, you're late, I understand, dropping off your kids is important. So, be here at 9-ish. Okay? We're back on the record, all parties and council observers are present.
Okay, folks, so I think we left off when I was discussing with you all the whole notion of the person who used to be Relly is not Relly anymore, apparently, who came back at 11:09 to the scene to retrieve shell casings. Now, again, his story changed. Ultimately, he said it wasn't him, so some mystery man showed up at the scene at 11:09, apparently. But one of two things happened here. Either that really was Relly, like he first said on the video, coming back at 11:09, staying for 2 minutes, returned to the scene, and he lied, of course, then about being there with his girlfriend, if that was him, and about taking photos of the shell casings while there, because those photos weren't taken until 11:45. Or the prosecution has absolutely no evidence whatsoever that he ever returned to the scene, ever. Whichever one you choose, the prosecution has no evidence at all that Relly actually recovered those shell casings from the scene. He could have called his girlfriend, Miss Parker, to back up his claim. Yes. She's probably busy doing what she does, but she didn't show up. Their burden, corroborated with witnesses. The word of Relly, I think, is fair to question. there are a lot of things in this case that are going to be easy to corroborate of his word, if they're true. I'm going to show you a little list. Those sort of cool I put together, but not yet. But there is no corroboration, and they couldn't. Lydia Parker could come in here and say, yes, I went back with it. We found 2 shell cases. She's still his girlfriend, apparently. No evidence whatsoever that he took the shell casing while at the scene. While on that point, by the way, the photos taken with Relly's iPhone of the alleged shell casing, allegedly taken at the scene, but not until 11:45, an hour and a half afterwards. They had time date stamps on them. But what you didn't see from the prosecution was the GPS location data for those digital photos on Relly's phone. Why? I mean, you know, they didn't show you, what else they didn't show you was GPS location data from Relly's iPhone to show you where Relly was on November 6, 2021. That will solve a lot of mysteries here. It's not like they couldn't have done it. GPS location data from Relly's iPhone, which they had. That would have answered all the questions. Could have corroborated it or not. After all, you heard that law enforcement, in this case, went out of their way to get a search warrant to obtain GPS location data for ASAP Ill's iPhone, just to show that he was, one, near Selma Avenue and Vista Del Mar about 10:12 p.m. on November 6th. It showed that in his location data. He was near Rocky's residence at 11:11 p.m. that night. That from Detective Flores' testimony, lest there be any confusion. The question was asked, and specifically, it's important because it showed they could have gotten GPS location data from their only witness who's not corroborated, and whose word may be a little shaky. And specifically, the T-Mobile information law enforcement obtained authorized to search Elijah Ulunger's, ASAP Ill's, his call detail records and his GPS location. Detective Flores correct. And the GPS location data, I should say, answer yes. Okay.
Exactly, it should
In
match.
those records, the GPS location data that you all were able to obtain showed that Elijah Ulunger, ASAP Ill's cell phone was near Selma Avenue and Vista Del Mar at approximately 10:12 p.m. on November 6th. And if I believe that's correct. Question. Those records also show that Ills, I'm just going to refer to this Mr. Ills for the purpose of moving this thing along a little bit. ASAP Ill's cell phone was near Mr. Mayer's residence at 11:11 p.m. later that night. Answer yes. Subsequently after yes. Well, what that shows you is that not only had they had the ability to do that, they in fact did it. But why just for Ills? Why not for Relly, who claims he came back and found shell casings? That would have put an end to this mystery. Was he there? Was he with his girlfriend? Was he not there? You heard again. There was no dispute, by the way, about Ills that he was at Selma, Vista Del Mar and Selma.
Yeah, there would have been geolocation on the photos.
And rather than looking to see where Ills was at 11:11 p.m., why didn't they use Relly's GPS data to show you where he was at 11:11 p.m.? Was that him? Was that
Exactly.
not him?
Why didn't they?
11:45. This would have answered all your questions, either corroborated the story or not. Would have put the lie to it again. It would have also shown you where those iPhone photos of the shell casings were taken. Instead, you have to take his word for it. You just have to take his word for it. Yes, they could have done it. They did it with Ills for some reason, but not for Relly. So just take his word for it. If the word of any witness ever deserved to be tested in this case, it's Relly. I mean, it's a man whose tongue is a stranger to the truth. And they could have easily corroborated his story or shown that his story was not truthful. They just didn't do it. I want to pause here so this really sinks in. Detective Flores told you that he wouldn't want anyone other than than the police taking evidence from the scene, because that could hamper and hinder an investigation. This is obviously fairly important. As a detective, I asked them, you'd agree when conducting an investigation of an alleged shooting, you wouldn't want anyone who's not law enforcement removing evidence or taking evidence from the scene, right? Answer correct. Because that could hamper and hinder your investigation. Answer, it can. And that makes sense, because once evidence is contaminated, once an alleged crime scene is contaminated,
It
there's no
should
way to
be
fix that. No way. You never get a second chance at it. If you want reliable information from a scene, it cannot be tampered with, it cannot be staged. If it's staged, it's useless. It's pointless to review it, because whatever you see, you have to reject it. You have to. And that's exactly what Relly says he did here. And that's why it was even more important for the detectives to test his word by looking to corroborate it, but they never did that. To be clear, the prosecution just wants you to take Relly's word that he found shell casings at the scene. That's it, just take his word. After all, they presented to you nothing to corroborate it when they easily could have. And just ask yourselves, if Lydia Parker, Mr. Relly's girlfriend, could readily corroborate his claim, don't you take the word heard from her? The fact is, Relly didn't want her anywhere near the courtroom. Anywhere near the courtroom. Remember when I showed him a picture of Miss Parker, his girlfriend? And I said, is that your girlfriend? He said, I don't know.
Is this Miss Parker?
I think TV does with 10 pounds on it, but we're disturbed by that photo. But anyway, back to more important things. What he just said was, I don't know if that's my girlfriend. I mean, just anything he tells the truth about, I don't know if that's my girlfriend. That's not an I don't know. That's either yes or no. He couldn't recognize his girlfriend at when he said, oh, she had makeup on. I mean, we're not talking about clown makeup, right? I mean, she literally said, my girlfriend. Why lie about that? Aside from his name, I don't even know if that's really his name. Did he not lie about anything in this case? I mean, you know that wasn't truthful testimony. He didn't want the only person who could or couldn't corroborate his story to be anywhere near this courtroom. That's neither did they. The judge told you, the defense does not have the burden to do anything in this case. They do. They had the burden. We don't have to prove anything. We didn't have to introduce a single piece of evidence. We didn't have to produce a witness. That's because the laws of the United States and the Constitution demand that. But as a matter of fact, we had more substantive witnesses in this case to testify than the prosecution did. We want to give you the complete picture, all the evidence, because we want you to know the truth. And there's nothing to hide. Rocky did not commit a crime, not by a long shot. Why? Again, I need an answer as to why they didn't show you the GPS records of Relly, when it could have shown where he actually went after the incident. From the incident, where did he go for that hour and a half? And where did he take those pictures from? That would have been, especially if there's any question that video may not have been shown to Relly returning, if that wasn't him returning to the scene at 11:09, 11:11. So where was he really at that time? Unfortunately, we don't ever get to know these, because they didn't get his GPS location information. We're just supposed to accept his word that he didn't go somewhere else to get shell cases. We just have to accept it. And the judge gave you instructions on this about the credibility of the witnesses, and it's in your agreement, take it back with you there. But it says that a witness lies to you on an important fact of the case or in his testimony, you can feel free to disregard the entire testimony of that witness, or you can just disregard that one fact and believe the rest. But he lied to you about so many crucial things. I'm not talking about his inconsistencies. Again, we'd be here until the summer. He lied to you about the most crucial facts in this case. You know, by the way, this is not someone who's uncomfortable around guns. You heard he owns a 9mm. He posted those pictures on the Instagram. His 9mm sticking out of his waist, he said. You heard he owns 9mm semi-automatic. We've never seen proof for where he actually obtained it. Second, he blatantly lied about his access to 9mm shell casings in Los Angeles. That's another account of perjury. That was a big one. And we have to talk about this. We have to spend a little time on this one because what happened there was very crucial. He lied about having access to 9mm shell casings 2 weeks before the incident on November 6th. He lied to them. He lied about being in Los Angeles. He lied about having access to shell casings. He lied about shooting. I'm going to show it to you. This next episode is not even one lie or one perjury event. It was like a perjury miniseries. This next one. It was unbelievable. One lie piled onto the next one, onto the next one. He got caught with that, then he went to another. It was a glorious training. And you're going to see it. I mean, I asked him first if he fired a 9mm weapon before November 6, 2021. Sort of an important fact. Because we need to have access to 9mm shell casings. First he said, no, absolutely not. Then I wanted to make sure, I wanted to almost help him give me the truthful answer. I said, well, how about at a shooting range a few weeks before November 6th? Did you fire a 9mm at a shooting range? Right, hit them off on November 6th, 2021. He said, definitely not. And I repeat, I said, definitely not? And he got all belligerent. He says, you heard me, definitely not. I didn't even own a firearm, he said. I only got my firearm license a year and a half later. Listen.
Let's move closer to the time of the incident on November 6th, 2021. A few weeks before November 6th, 2021. And a few weeks before, you testified that you found shell casings at the scene, found the shell casing. You fired 9mm weapons at a shooting range, correct? Definitely not.
Which is weird that he had to come back in and correct it.
So you heard me. He did not like me, clearly. But I asked him to confirm that answer. You heard me. Well, yes, you heard me. Definitely not. I didn't even own a firearm. I only got my firearm license a year and a half later. Lies, 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 lies. And that's when we all saw the video of Mr. Efron firing a 9mm semi-automatic weapon on October 19, 2021, 2 weeks before the incident on November 6th. And I pointed out, Mr. Efron,
No one quit looking at the judge being a crybaby.
I said, what you just told this jury was that before November 6, 2021,
And when you find
didn't
out
fire
from
any
bringing the
guns
phone,
because you didn't have your license. And he said, no, unless I was at a shooting range. And I said to him, sir, I just asked you, were you at a shooting range? And you said, definitely not. And I asked you again, and you said, you heard me, definitely not. He just made stuff up as he went along. Look at this.
Mr. Efron, you just told the jury, I don't know what I'm doing, 316, 216, by the time you get. What you just told this jury was that before November 6, 2021, you didn't fire any guns. So you didn't have your license. You just had a last I was on shooting range.
I mean, you just saw his testimony, which was about 1.5 minutes earlier. where I said, was that a shooting range release? Maybe you did that? Definitely not. Twice definitely not. And then explain why it was definitely not, because he didn't even have his firearms license or whatever. When he got busted with the video that he didn't think anyone had, this was not brought out on his direct, of course. He said, I said, unless I was at a shooting.
I mean, the
You make that up in front
prosecutors
of me.
want to act
I
like
just told you definitely not at a shooting.
really
And then
was
just
a
I don't know,
psychic,
guys.
but
I mean,
you know,
there
a lot
has
of
to be a
people
point in
keep their
time
shells
where
out of
you have to
shooting
be
range.
so offended by him just looking at you guys and lying. He's took an oath. An oath. You know an oath means absolutely nothing to him. Absolutely nothing. He didn't say that. That was blatant perjury right there. You just witnessed another count of blatant perjury. But what happened in this courtroom after that, I think made it worse. After, you're gonna see it, what happened. Because this was now all about, okay, so now we got him firing a gun. Don't play that yet, please. We have him firing a gun before November 6, 2021. We have him firing a 9mm. He lied about it repeatedly. And then, so after securing the date of the 9mm firing of October 19, 2021, I tried to ascertain the location of the shooting range. And the prosecution then asked for a stipulation. You're going to hear it. That the shooting range was taken outside of California. And the witness all of a sudden adopted that. Let's look at this.
And where is it? And where is it? This is a just called these regulations. So we have a situation. I'm not taking. I'm not taking. This is outside of California.
There was this stipulation, but at the time, I believe all parties in good faith believed that the shooting range was outside of California. No one is at fault. It's what the parties believed at that time.
Well, I didn't believe anything, so I didn't know. I'm not saying anyone's at fault. I'm just showing how it's played out with the witness. You put on the witness.
Right.
How we adopt.
The prosecution asked for a stipulation based on what has happened so far up until this point. They believed in good faith that it was outside California. The fact that it wasn't came as a surprise.
They didn't say they didn't believe.
Well, except the witness.
Everybody at counsel table.
Yeah, not believe everyone counts it. I just want to just let this play out. How we would
New Jersey is yes, it's not.
Same objections, improper argument, a little bit.
I explained to the jury. Go ahead.
New Jersey.
Someone shut up.
Yes, it's not.
Next line. Last line was stop Los Angeles, or not again. So anyway, the witness then said, after hearing what we heard in the court with the banter, he then said, well, maybe it was probably New Jersey, something like that, but it's not LA. That was everything, sure. He knew that. So, understand what just happened there. The witness, all of a sudden, after lying about all those things we just went through, and I'll repeat them again, then heard argument and said, oh, but it's not LA, it's maybe New Jersey. Because being in LA, that would have been a problem. But something happened over the weekend, little problem for Mr. Rose. See, on Sunday, between 2 p.m., and he was on Friday, that was on Friday. On Sunday, between 2 p.m. and 2:11 p.m., someone on Twitter posted a screenshot that you saw, heard about, of a video showing Relly at the shooting range that was played before you, alongside a picture of the Los Angeles Gun Club. Locations right there. It was the same. Relly was tagged on that. It was tagged. So what does Relly do? Sometime between 2 o'clock and 2:50 that same day, immediately, he calls the prosecution and says, oh, I checked my Instagram account and I realized I was in Los Angeles on November 19, 2021. And I realized I was at a shooting range. And what's the reason the prosecution elicited from Relly as to why he made that discovery? Well, he was going back to check his Instagram account on whether the shooting range was in Los Angeles because he wanted to correct any mistakes he made. So it's true. It's like, say it straight in, but that's literally what he said to you. He really was concerned about making any mistakes, so he wanted to make sure he checked his Instagram account to see if he made any mistakes. First of all, I asked him, see, your Instagram account doesn't have anything about gun range. And he starts saying, that's not my Instagram account. Well, aren't you really boss? Yeah, but okay. Okay, folks. I guess he didn't go bother checking all his other so-called mistakes that he made. Just that one that happened to have a post busting him at 2 o'clock. Within minutes, he calls the prosecutor. He was tagged on the post. Within minutes, he called the prosecutor. What a coincidence. You know, what about all the other mistakes? What executives did you meet at Capitol Records and Universal Records that you no longer meet because of what happened here? You couldn't mention the name of anyone he met with, but he said they were on his phone. He could check his phone. Oh, there you go. He was checking his phone to correct the record here. That didn't happen. How about the Miami property, Mr. Relly, that you invested in? I mean, last year, it was only last year, sir. You invested in Miami property. You posted on your Instagram. I asked him which property in Miami did you invest in. I don't remember which property. Why? I mean, no one invests in property doesn't remember which property. Unless you're a gazillionaire, and that doesn't matter. And he's not. And then I asked him, well, how much did you invest in property? I don't remember. He didn't go back and check that. So remember that, just remember that one, how that all played out here when considering his credibility.
He lied about a lot of stuff he shouldn't have lied about.
There's so many things. The Miami property thing, that was just nonsense. But this was horrific. He got caught. He got caught live. It's made in New Jersey, definitely not LA. I went back and checked, it's definitely LA. That's clear perjury. So you know he didn't check his Instagram account, wanted to correct a mistake about whether the shooting range was in LA. That wasn't truthful testimony. You've seen him testify in this courtroom. The witness who told you when he said definitely not, he was committing perjury, because that was his then answer. He cleared that up. I'm going to show you this in a second. When he said definitely not to me, I questioned him. I said, you said definitely not. Because then he got busted with the Twitter thing. And he said, well, yeah, I just made that up because I didn't want to answer any of my questions, any of your questions anymore. He literally said to you, he just lied under oath on a very important fact, like whether he had access to 9 million showcases, because he was tired of answering my questions. I'm just going to lie to you.
Bro, that's only on this topic. It's where just a few minutes ago. Okay. Okay, yes, I did. Okay, you said yes? Yes. Did you look like you were confused by that question at all when you said definitely not? And to be honest, I just wanted to stop talking to you.
So, you look like you were confused by that question because he said he was confused by that all of a sudden now. When you said definitely not, I didn't shoot a 9 millimeter at a shooting range before November 6th. Definitely not. So you look like you're confused. That's just, to be honest, oh, here we go. There's a watershed moment. To be honest with you, I just want to stop talking with you. So I just said, Jesus. Just give me my 30 million and let's get this over with. He just told you to perjure himself. But you should believe him without corroboration. We all know it wasn't mere coincidence that minutes after that post that he was tagged on, he told the DA. He called because he knew what was coming the next day on Monday morning. He knew what was coming. And that's what the prosecution wanting to correct that mistake. Let me move on. But again, that is not a minor factor in this case. That's not a minor factor. It's not a game. This is life. Whether their so-called victim, Tyrell Efron, had access to 9mm shell casings just a few weeks before he claims to have found 2 9mm shell casings in Los Angeles. Yes, he did, in the same city. He had access in the same city.
Oh, you don't like that, do you, State? That's your witness, bud.
Facts weren't getting in his way. But the funny thing about facts is this, as John Adams once said, it's one of my favorite quotes. John Adams said, facts are stubborn things, and whatever may be our wishes or our inclinations, or the dictates of our passions, they cannot alter the state of facts and evidence. And you cannot alter the state of facts and evidence, no matter what Relly tells you, no matter how you want to interpret his testimony, no matter what they say to you. So with this evidence, ask yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, did Relly first lie to you about going to a shooting range where he had access to 9mm shell casings, and then lie to you again about having access to those 9mm shell casings here in Los Angeles? I mean, why would he do that? Why would he lie about those two things? There'd be no reason for him to lie about that unless it was to cover up something about those 9mm shell casings he claims he recovered. No reason to lie about that. You know exactly what happened, why he lied about it. As the police found when they got there, there was no shell casings there because he had a prop gun. He had a prop gun, as unimpeached witnesses told you. And he claims that he got these shell casings from the scene an hour and whatever later, a half later. And then he held them for 2 days, gave the police 2 days later, when his extortion defense failed. One thing's clear, the prosecution has not proven beyond reasonable doubt that Relly did not get those shell casings from somewhere other than the scene. They did not prove that beyond reasonable doubt. That's enough. That's enough. Beyond the fact that Relly had access to shell casings in Los Angeles now that we know, which he lied about, the prosecution presented no evidence, zero evidence whatsoever trying to corroborate Relly's claim that he actually found those shell casings at the scene. None. Not Lydia Parker, not GPS location data. Stuff that would have done it pretty quickly.
No corroboration.
Not a video. Relly first said that it was fake. When I showed him that video, it was fake. He didn't think anyone knew he had those videos of him at a firing range. By the way, we're not like master investigators. They were just on his phone. We just looked at every single thing on his phone. They had it too. They gave it to us. We didn't hear about that on his direct testimony. It would have been something to bring out to deal with. That wasn't brought out. If we didn't cross-examine him, we never would have known he was in Los Angeles 2 weeks before. 9mm shell casings popping back into his head as he's firing. And he lied about it, perjured himself. There's only one reason you will lie about that. Cover it up. Heard about the magazine. I'm gonna get that magazine. But Block 43, Mr. Chris Long spent a lot of time on it today. And there was no effort made to test. Now, you heard the judge, he instructed you that 2 weeks, I think it's 3 weeks ago now, there'll be no testing on that. 3 weeks ago, right after the trial started, 3 weeks ago, no testing. Here, going forward, great. That's January 2025. What about 2021, 2022? Well, not 2021, because they recovered in 2022, let me be fair. 2022, 2023, 2024. 3 years they had to take that magazine that they recovered and test it to the bullets recovered. They didn't do that. They spent
Wow, that was good. That was a good
a
argument.
very nice PowerPoint presentation, which in the end proved only that the shell casings
Because
possibly,
magazines will make
possibly
specific
came
marks
from an
on
aftermarket slide
bullets.
for a
That
firearm
was a
frame that
good.
could possibly have been compatible with the
That
Glock
was a good
43,
argument.
or not possible. I mean, literally, that was the import of that testimony. Possibly could have come from an aftermarket slide for a firearm frame that could have possibly, this is his testimony, possibly been compatible with the Glock 43 magazine, or possibly not. That was the ballistics expert's testimony. Possibly or possibly not is definitely not proof beyond reasonable doubt. In any event, Lou Levin told you that the Glock 43 magazine was his. He explained why it was his. Whether they want to mock him, mock his answer, he was in Rocky's house after they planned to go to a shooting range. He told you he had bought it. He owned the Glock 42. And magazines are stored all next to each other, 42s, 43s, and all that stuff. Lou told you. I don't know anything about this stuff, personally. But he went to the store to buy accessories. He mistakenly read a Glock 43 magazine because they're all different models of Glock. Magazines are all stored together. So he told you he didn't realize it until he tried to load it at Rocky's house in preparation for going to a shooting range. And then when his .380 caliber Glock 42 ammunition didn't fit, he tried 9mm ammunition from his Smith & Wesson, which he did, from his testimony. And of course, that magazine didn't fit any of his firearms. He left it at Rocky's house. Why? Why not return it? He told you. It was over an hour away where he purchased the thing. It would have cost more in gas than the $20 it cost him for that magazine. But one thing you know, despite all the questions from the prosecution, Mr. Lewin, they did absolutely nothing to refute or contradict this testimony. Absolutely nothing. This was true. I mean, at one point, he told you that magazine was never used. He told you it was never used. You can take this back. You have all the evidence with you. But the reason he told you it was never used, he just got a picture that he looked at it. There's not a scratch on this thing. It's a piece of plastic. It's a cheap piece of plastic. That's why it costs $20. He told you it was never used because if you put this into a steel gun, a Glock, this is going to scratch.
There's no evidence to support that.
Oh, Levin, this is pure. It's virgin, as Levin said. There's no scratches on this thing. It's brand new. And they had 3 years to test it. 3 years to test this. They didn't do it. Not only did they not connect really shell casings to the magazine in Rocky's house, they didn't connect those shell casings to Rocky himself. And that's cool. You heard that law enforcement submitted those shell casings for fingerprint analysis and found absolutely none on there. And I asked the detective before, they said you could find fingerprints on a piece of metal, right? They pretty easily said yes. So they submitted Rocky's fingerprints for fingerprint analysis against the shell casings, and they found none. So they tried to make excuses for that, because that's another fact that's not good. So they tried to make excuses, like, do you have one of those bullets? The shell is the ones recovered, claimed to be recovered at the scene by brother at 11:45 with no GPS navigation. Anyway.
They're not clean now. They got your fingerprints on them there, sir.
My fingerprints are all over this thing right now. Okay? So yes, you'll get fingerprints on a shell casing, no it's empty portion. But then they said, well, could there be a reason why you would get fingerprints? And he said, yeah, there could be. testimony that was, yes, rain, water, cars, and even wind. Imagine that. Maybe wind wiped the fingerprints off the shell case. Imagine. So now my fingerprints are on this thing. Oh, there goes my fingerprints. Are you kidding me? Wind? Wind.
That's funny shit.
That's an excuse. It's not a fact. There was one other explanation by Detective Flores that makes a lot more sense. He said, well, human contamination, like someone wiping fingerprints off shell casings, that could do it. And you know that after those shell casings were, yes. Alex, now where am I? All right, open up. Human contamination, that's right. Human contamination. The detective said that human contamination, like someone wiping fingerprints off a shell casing, that could do it. And you know that after those shell casings were fired, the only person with an incentive to wipe them clean would have been Relly before he gave them to the police. Just like he wiped his phone clean of threatening messages to Rocky. We'll get to that. They didn't bring that out. We have to. So Relly wants you to believe his fingerprints weren't on them because he supposedly went to Dunkin' Donuts to get a bag to pick them up with. And you know that's not true. There's no Dunkin' Donuts open at 11 p.m. at night, especially during COVID.
Objection suspended. Objection suspended.
Well, you decide if that testimony is credible.
There's no testimony, Mr.
No,
Objection sustained about when Dunkin' Donuts are open until.
That's
The
not.
jury's job is to decide the credibility of the witnesses, including all testimony that is given by that witness.
So here's what the witness said, and it's your job to decide. Thank you. He said, I went to Dunkin' Donuts at 11 o'clock at night, got a paper bag from Dunkin' Donuts at 11 o'clock at night in Hollywood. And that's the bag I used to put the bullets in that had no fingerprints on it. You determine the credibility of that statement. He came in here and told you that. You also heard.
But the
that
cop
one
said he
person
had it in a
Rocky's
black
DNA
plastic bag.
Took his DNA, despite Detective Flores saying that DNA was necessary as part of their investigation. You had to swear that to a judge. They never compared it to the shell casings, or even the magazine recovered in Rocky's house. That might help. They didn't do that. For that matter, you know that Relly's 9mm shell casings were different than the 9mm shell cartridges found in that magazine. You've seen that picture a hundred times. Completely different brands. The ones in the Relly said he found were Federal cartridge. Lululemon's cartridges were made by Sig Sauer. Completely different. Again, on that point, you heard the magazine was never used, was fully loaded, meaning 2 cartridges were not missing from it, but they were different bullets anyway, so it doesn't matter. Lest there be any question that that block magazine in Rocky's house was not the magazine seen in the video on November 6, 2021. All you have to do is look with your own eyes. All you have to do is look with your own eyes. So after this part, I think we can stop it, but let me just go through this last name. The Glock magazine seen in the video is different. The Glock magazine recovered, which we just showed you actually, is a Glock 43 and it's black. Black, that's the magazine. The magazine that you're going to see in Rocky's prop gun on November 6th was not black. It was extended, as Lululemon told you, to look more intimidating, because it was a little thing, Glock. And if you look at it, you're going to see what it was. But don't forget, 12E and Lou both said, and the prosecution sort of mocked this somehow in their summation, they said, oh, conveniently, they both identified the belt and the extended magazine. So they both could identify, the thing. They immediately came up with these two different things to be able to say it was the same product. Not conveniently. Look at the picture. That's what it was. Luke put it together, and Kobe saw it. That's the magazine in the, okay, I know we're doing it now, but we can. That's the, we'll use that point again, or? What, that's too hard on the screen? Yeah. Sorry. I was pretty, Does everyone see here? No, okay. Anyway. That's the magazine recovered. Here's the prop gun. I'm gonna try and do this where. How about now, we good? All right. That little thing at the end is the belt clip. That's a clip. And that's what Lululemon described. Here's what you see. This thing, this clear, silvery looking thing, is the extended magazine that Lululemon described, that 12B described. It's part of this prop gun, and it's an extended magazine. So it makes this thing look bigger, and they both described it as clear. This is the first time, because if you play this in real time, you'll never see that thing. We stopped it. And so here is the magazine, the extended magazine, to make this thing look bigger, and it's clear. It's not that. It's clear. Okay.
Breakdown.
Yeah,
All right, folks.
All right.
We'll resume at 9 tomorrow. Please don't discuss the case amongst yourself or anybody else. We'll see you tomorrow, 9 a.m.
Are we done? We done for today? I don't know if we're done for today.
All right, here's the last, all right, see you all tomorrow.
All right, I guess we're done. 9 a.m. tomorrow. So yeah, I am gonna have to rewatch that closing argument. I think it was all over. I think he's really starting to hammer in like certain points that really matter. So anyways, thanks for everybody that came in, stopped by. For your trial recaps and breakdowns, please subscribe to 1250 Podcast. That's where I go for all my breakdowns and stuff. So if you're not into watching the whole thing, you could always get catched up there. All right, appreciate everybody coming by. Thank you. Peace.
Turn me up, AV.
Like the spotlight, recognize by showing love, then got my grind right. Ain't never since day one to love it on side. And since you got my back, I got your back for life. Yeah, pretty honesty, know just what it is, I got it on me. And you hold me down, you like my homie. Just know I got you down, just what it gon' be. Definition of bestie, definition definition of friendship, definition of rider, definition relentless. She's a strong woman, she's a sweet lady, she's a great mother, let your pain get achy. Yeah, I made that girl on YouTube, she never dims my light or put me in her dark mood. And I thank you, you appreciate, you're my favorite girl on YouTube, and I can't fake it. You still got faith in me, make me feel like big. DJ Cali voice, pretty hot. Who still got faith in me, make me feel like big. DJ Cali voice, pretty hot. Met a little shawty on this show called BDP, you know what I'm talking about? Shit, we been cool ever since, my nigga, you know what I'm talking about? Put your eyes on me, like the spotlight. Recognize me showing love, then got my grind right. Ain't never since day one the love been on side. And since you got my back, I got your back for life. Yeah, pretty eyes, know just what it is, I got it on me. Hey, you hold me down, you like my homie. Just know I got you down, just what it gon' be.